Hey guys, Kevin here with Victory 4x4. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to install our Tacoma Overland Bed Rack, designed to work with the best top and soft topper bed covers. So to get started, what you're going to need to do is assemble each side of this rack here on the ground or on a bench, and then we can get them installed to the truck. So to get these assembled, I'm going to start by taking one of the top side rails. Logo goes toward the rear. I'm going to take my rear upright and then using all the holes that are easily aligned, along with 5/16 button head bolts out of your bolt pack, along with serrated flange nuts, you can begin getting these loosely assembled together. Then, leaving that back hardware loose for now, we'll come up to the front of the rack and install this upright. It's going to be very similar, 5/16 button head hardware and flange nuts. Once you've got that assembled, this accessory rail needs to go in. Now, where you put this is really going to be dependent on how you want to set up your doors. So if you're going to be installing a flip up door, which is what we're going to do on this side, you'll install this all the way down in the bottom set of slots on your uprights. And if you're going to be doing a fold down door, you're going to bring it up here to the top and install it in that set of slots. So like we said on this one, I'm going to be doing a flip up door. I'll bring it down here and get that started with some more 5/16 hardware. Now once you have it assembled to this point, go ahead and tighten all your hardware up on this side assembly. Then, real quick before you can get that side installed on the vehicle, you need to jump in the back here, grab the carriage bolt strips provided in your bolt pack, along with the 5/16 carriage bolts. Go ahead and install 2 of those bolts into the strip, and then that will just slide right into the factory accessory rail here in the bed. So you're going to do 1 at each corner, and then we can get that side installed. Now once you have those in, you're going to want to take your topper and just lift it up. If it'll sit up here nicely like that, great. That'll give you room to slide that side assembly in underneath. If not, grab a friend to help you pick this up while you slide that side assembly in. Then once you get your side assembly in, get your soft topper set back down. You'll need to come in here and line up those carriage bolts through the slots in the uprights. And then you can install the nylock flange nuts. It'll be a good idea at this point to have somebody outside of the vehicle holding that side just to prevent it from tipping over and damaging either the rack or the truck. Then once you have all those nuts started, you can go ahead and tighten them up. Just don't go crazy at this point because you may still need to move this rack front to rear a little bit. Then once you have these tightened up, you can go do the same thing over on the other side. Next, you can assemble the overhead crossbars. So for that, you're going to need 2 of these crossbar sections for each one, along with a center clamshell. That's simply going to sit over the top and then assemble with the 5/16 button head hardware. Then, after you have both of these assembled, you'll need to get them installed to these upper side rails. Simply spreading those out, lining up the holes, and then using more 5/16 button head hardware. Now we've left the middle of these loose for now still, while we're getting everything set in place, and then we'll tighten that up later on. Now once you have these in place, you'll need to install the corner gussets. So here in the rear, you're going to have a stepped flange like this. The rears will also have a notch cut out here, and then they'll simply install mounted to the rear face of this crossbar and inside of this upright here. To mount those, you're just going to be using 5/16 button head hardware. Now when you're installing the hardware out here on the side, that'll need to mount from front to rear for clearance reasons. Now I'll go install this one on the other side and then show you how the front gussets go. Now up here on these front gussets, it's going to look just like this. Holes up here, slot out here, and then it's going to install pretty much the same as the rear on the outside flange of your top crossbar and inside of your upright again, using 5/16 button head hardware. Now if you're going to be installing these rails up top, it's simply a matter of picking the slot that you're going to be using and then putting these down in between the front and rear and bolting those in with more button heads. Now once you have all 4 of these gussets installed and all the bolts started by hand, you're going to want to come back and make sure that the top edges of these gussets are running parallel to your top crossbars. For that, you can simply push this left to right as needed and then go ahead and start tightening those up. Now once you have all your rack hardware tight, you're going to need to come in here and tighten the rack down to the bed. Now for this, we recommend just starting with the bed rack upright within a 1/2 inch of the rear portion of this accessory rail. And then once you have that in place, you can tighten it down. After you've done all that, your topper can be clamped in place using the provided clamps from the cover manufacturer. Now we can begin installing our doors. So for this one, I'm going to be doing our flip up door. I'm going to start with the door mounting bracket. For this, you want the shorter leg of the bracket to face out as well as toward the top. And then you're simply going to bolt it into this slot, and you're going to locate this so that the top edge of the bracket sits 3/8 of an inch down from the bottom edge of this side rail. Now down here on the bottom, you're going to need to install the door latch brackets. Those are going to look just like this. Install with the step facing in. You will need to grab the small rubber bumpers out of your bolt pack and install those into the small holes in this bracket. And those simply press into place with just a little wiggle. Once you have those in, grab one of your 5/16 button heads, place that in the bottom hole with a nut on the back. And the top hole will actually bolt in place using the ball stud of your gas strut for the door. So you can simply start that. Make sure that this is hanging out so that it doesn't get caught behind the door when we bolt that in place. And then you can install the nut and washer on the inside of this upright. Then, as a good starting point to position this for height, you're simply going to put the bottom edge of this bracket even with the bottom of this slot and tighten it down for now. This may need to be readjusted later once you have your door installed and can check the alignment with the latches. Then you can get your door installed. Now I've already done one side to help hold this up, but the way this is going to go, you'll take the longer 5/16 button heads in your bolt pack. You can put that in the bracket, then use a nylon washer between that bracket and the door. Back that bolt out just enough that you can get that started in the door. And then you can take another nylon washer here on the inside, put that on the bolt before installing the nylock nut. Once you have both of those bolts in place, go ahead and tighten those up enough that there's tension on the whole assembly, but not so much that the door won't move up and down. Then you can install the strut to the door. So for that, it's a very similar process. You're going to put the bolt through. Again, that's a longer 5/16 bolt, just like the door. And then here you're going to use 2 of those nylon washers, followed by the strut and the nylon locking nut. And just like the door, you'll tighten that up enough that there's tension, but so that it can also move and pivot as the door goes up and down. With all that in place, you're ready to install your latches. So go ahead and pull these out of the packaging. Make sure they're unlocked before you get these installed. And then you just have 2 Phillips head screws on the back to remove, leaving you with the 2 halves. These are only going to go into the door one way. And then it's just a matter of opening this up and reinstalling the back half using those same Phillips head screws. So over here on the other side, we've already got our fold down door pretty much installed, but we wanted to show you the minor differences between this and the flip up. So up here on your latch bracket, you're just gonna put that all the way in the top of this slot on your upright. Down here on the door mounting brackets, those are simply gonna be in the bottom of this lowest slot, again with the shorter leg out. And then instead of a gas strut, you're gonna be installing these stainless cables. So for that, we provide you with number 10 button head hardware. You'll simply install that into the cable. Then we give you more of those black nylon washers that you'll want to use between the metal mounting surfaces. And then you can simply install that into the upright, use another black washer and the number 10 nylon locking nut. And then out here on the door, we provide you with several holes that you can mount this into to put this relatively level off the side of the truck. You're going to want to use the second hole in from the end. The button head bolt will go in from the outside in. Again, nylon washers for the friction surfaces. And locking nut. Once you have all that loosely in place, you'll just tighten it up with an 1/8 inch hex and a 3/8 wrench. And that'll complete your rack install, and now it's just up to you to mount all your gear. If you guys have any questions about this rack or any other product here at Victory 4x4, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can email us info@victory4x4.com or give us a call 269-459-8447.